Inside the classroom, teachers and students clash in a fierce debate, their voices echoing off the modern walls. The focal point, the controversial topic of physical punishment in schools, a relic of the past sparking intense argument. Chloe's disbelief hangs in the air as she voices, "I cannot believe caning was once commonplace." The classroom buzzes with tension, the weight of history and changing values fueling every word. Sound of wind blowing. The sound of wind hints at the unknown location. A voice echoes in the wind, seemingly from nowhere. Chloe, Vio's voice cuts through the wind. Imagine getting caned just for forgetting your homework. In the sterile interview room, Mr. Henderson adjusts his glasses, a prelude to stories from a bygone era. He leans forward, his eyes reflecting the quiet hum of the recording equipment, ready to journey back to the 1,950 seconds. The room is quiet, save the hum of the recorder. Mr. Henderson is ready to recount his experiences. Mr. Henderson sits across from an interviewer. In a dimly lit space, Mr. Henderson's aged face tells tales of bygone eras, each line a chapter etched in time. His eyes, pools of calm reflecting distant memories, hold the weight of experiences both seen and unseen. Back then, it was just the way things were, he begins, his voice a gentle echo from a harsher age. A shadow of solemn recollection darkens his gaze as he recalls the rigid rules of his youth. If you misbehaved, you got the cane, he states, the simplicity of those words belying their brutal truth. His calm demeanor belies a world where justice was swift and unquestioned, no questions asked. In a 1950 classroom, neat rows of students sit under the stern gaze of Mr. Grimshaw, his posture rigid and imposing. Each desk is perfectly aligned, reflecting an era of strict discipline and unwavering order. The air is thick with anticipation as Mr. Grimshaw surveys his class. Amidst the uniformity, young Tommy nervously fidgets in his seat, a stark contrast to the rigid atmosphere. Tommy glances around, his unease growing under the teacher's watchful eye. The classroom feels like a pressure cooker, with Tommy at the epicenter of rising tension. Bright sunlight streams into the classroom, illuminating rows of neatly arranged desks. Mr. Grimshaw, a stern figure, gestures sharply towards young Tommy. Tommy shrinks under the teacher's gaze, his face flushed with embarrassment. Mr. Grimshaw's voice echoes in the classroom. "Tommy, you haven't completed your sums. Front of the class now," Mr. Grimshaw commands, his words leaving no room for argument. Tommy shuffles forward, each step heavy with dread in the old 1950 classroom. Fear etches lines onto Tommy's young face as he approaches the stern Mr. Grimshaw. Mr. Grimshaw's imposing desk looms, a symbol of authority and impending discipline. From behind the desk, Mr. Grimshaw retrieves a polished wooden cane, its gleam menacing. The cane appears, a stark instrument of punishment, reflecting the somber mood. In a stark, unknown location, Mr. Grimshaw's stern figure dominates, casting a long shadow over a young, fearful boy. The boy trembles, awaiting punishment, his small frame a stark contrast to Grimshaw's imposing presence. Grimshaw's voice booms, cold and without sympathy. "Bend over, boy. This will teach you to be more diligent." The air crackles with tension as the scene suggests impending pain and injustice. In a 1950 classroom, stern Mr. Grimshaw raises his hand, shadow falling across the room. The sounds of sharp blows echo as his hand connects with Tommy's backside. Tommy winces, his face contorted in silent pain, a tableau of stoic endurance. Each strike amplifies the tension, the vintage desks seeming to amplify the sounds. The classroom air is thick with unspoken fear. Tommy stands firm, a study in resilience amidst the harsh discipline. In the sterile interview room, Mr. Henderson sits, knuckles white, a haunted look etched on his face. The air is thick with unspoken words, the clinical setting amplifying his palpable tension. His gaze is fixed, lost in a haunting memory that grips him. I remember it like it was yesterday, Mr. Henderson whispers, the past echoing in his voice. A nondescript room basks in neutral light, its purpose ambiguous, perhaps an office or study. The atmosphere hangs heavy, subdued, and still. Mr. Henderson shifts, a shadow passing over his face. It hurt, of course, he says, his voice barely a whisper. He pauses, the weight of memory pressing down. But it was more the shame of it. Everyone watching you get punished. Inside the modern classroom, students listen intently, their faces etched with shock and sympathy. Mr. Henderson's story hangs heavy in the air, captivating the room with its unfolding drama. Some students lean forward, drawn into the narrative, while others exchange concerned glances. A palpable sense of shared emotion fills the classroom as the story reaches a poignant moment. Sunlight bathes the sterile interview room as Mrs. Davis sits, her elderly hands trembling, her eyes reflecting a distant memory. Her soft voice breaks the silence, carrying the weight of the past. The ruler. It was always there, a constant threat. She pauses, lost in thought, the years collapsing around her with each passing moment of remembrance. A faint whisper escapes her lips, a poignant echo of a time long gone. 60 years ago. Feels like yesterday. Dim light reveals a somber scene, heavy with unspoken grief. Mrs. Davis begins to speak, her face etched with pain and a weary resignation. Her voice, soft yet firm, cuts through the silence. A stark confession. The ruler across the knuckles, she recalls, her eyes clouding with memory. That was a common one for girls. Talking out of turn, mostly. Sunlight floods the 1960 classroom, illuminating dust motes. Rows of wooden desks are filled with attentive children. Sarah, bright-eyed with pigtails, leans in to whisper secrets to her friend. At the front, Miss Evans, stern and watchful, holds chalk in hand, a silent observer. Miss Evans's eyes narrow as she notices the surreptitious whispering between Sarah and her friend. A sense of youthful mischief hangs in the air, contrasting with the teacher's strict demeanor. The classroom is a tableau of innocence and authority, bathed in the warm, nostalgic glow of a bygone era. Sunlight floods the classroom, illuminating floating dust as Miss Evans smiles warmly. Rows of students watch Miss Evans, their faces eager with anticipation. Miss Evans gestures, her kind eyes settling on a student in the class. The classroom holds its breath, awaiting the next moment. Sarah Davis, come here, please, Miss Evans says, her voice gentle yet firm. In a 1960 classroom, Miss Evans raises the wooden ruler, the air thick with anticipation and dread. The ruler strikes, a sharp rap echoing as it lands squarely on Sarah's knuckles. Sarah flinches, a wince of pain distorting her youthful features. Her eyes glisten with unshed tears, a silent rebellion brewing within. The classroom remains still, the sound of the ruler hanging in the air. A piercing pain shoots through someone, their body instantly recoiling from the sudden assault. The unseen agony contorts their face, a silent scream building behind their eyes. Muscles tense, breath hitches, as they grapple with the unexpected wave of torment. A sharp, involuntary cry escapes their lips, shattering the silence. Ouch! The aftermath lingers, a visible tremor in their hands, a lingering echo of the intense pain. Chalk scratches on the blackboard, the sound grating in the otherwise silent classroom. Rows of students slump at their desks, faces etched with boredom. Miss Evans stands stiffly at the front, a stern figure against the backdrop of academic apathy. Her gaze sweeps across the room, a silent challenge to the disengaged students. A flicker of annoyance crosses her face, the chalk snapping in her hand. Perhaps that will teach you to pay attention, Miss Evans declares, her voice sharp. The stark interview room hums under fluorescent lights. Mrs. Davis sits, hands clasped, a portrait of restrained tension. Her gaze drifts beyond the lens, lost in a memory that haunts her. Each line on her face tells a story of resilience and pain. A tremor runs through her hands, betraying the calm facade. She speaks, her voice barely a whisper, laden with suppressed emotion. I felt utterly humiliated, she confesses, the words hanging heavy in the sterile air. A close-up reveals Mrs. Davis's face, each line a testament to past pain, her eyes reflecting the room's stark fluorescent lights. Her voice, soft and tinged with sorrow, barely breaks the silence as she begins to share her haunting memory. It stung, she whispers, the weight of the past palpable in her trembling voice. The worst part was the feeling of being singled out, of being shamed in front of everyone, she says, her gaze lost in the abyss of memory. Sunlight floods the modern classroom, illuminating rows of desks where students are deep in a spirited debate. Textbooks lie open, notebooks overflow with scribbled notes, the air crackles with intellectual fervor. The focus, psychological effects of various punishments, a topic sparking intense arguments. Each student passionately defends their viewpoint, their faces animated with conviction and youthful zeal. A stark interview room with only a table and two chairs, the silence amplifying the tension. Mr. Lee sits, his stern face a mask of determination, his gaze fixed on the unseen interviewer. He leans forward, the weight of his words palpable in the sterile air. His voice resonates with conviction, a staunch defense of his beliefs. Corporal punishment instilled discipline and respect, Mr. Lee declares, his words hanging heavy in the room. Long shadows stretch across the dimly lit room, the heavy air thick with the scent of aged paper and unspoken regrets. A somber atmosphere permeates the space, each corner whispering tales of past burdens and solemn reflection. Mr. Lee stands amidst the gloom, his figure a silhouette against the faint light filtering through aged windows. His voice, low and resonant, cuts through the silence, carrying the weight of experience and hard-won wisdom. It wasn't pleasant, but it taught us consequences, Mr. Lee says, his words echoing in the stillness. We knew where the line was, and we didn't cross it, he concludes, a stark reminder of boundaries and choices made. In a 1970 classroom, chaos reigns as unruly boys create a boisterous disturbance, their energy unrestrained. Mr. Jones, a burly teacher with a stern gaze, watches, his imposing figure promising order. The air thickens with anticipation as Mr. Jones's large hand reaches for a worn slipper on his desk. A hush falls over the room, the boys sensing the shift as the slipper is raised, a symbol of impending discipline. All eyes are glued to Mr. Jones, the playful energy now replaced with a nervous awareness of consequences. In a dimly lit room, Mr. Jones stands before a group, his stern gaze sweeping across them. The air crackles with nervous anticipation, each breath held, each heart pounding in silent dread. Mr. Jones's shadow stretches long and menacing, a silent promise of impending discipline. His voice cuts through the silence, a chilling question hanging in the air. Right. Who's for slipper treatment? Eyes dart nervously, each member silently praying they won't be the one to face Mr. Jones's wrath. In a 1,970 seconds classroom, young David is led to the front, his small face etched with fear and shame under the harsh lights. The teacher raises a worn slipper, the leather catching the fluorescent light, a symbol of impending punishment. The first sharp whack echoes in the silent classroom as the slipper strikes David's behind. Another blow lands, and another, each impact a stark punctuation in the tense atmosphere. David flinches with each strike, his body absorbing the pain and humiliation. The rhythmic sound of the slipper continues, a stark and brutal lesson unfolding in the classroom. An anonymous room, its purpose unclear, stands silent. David moves within it, a figure lost in the mundane. Suddenly, an unexpected collision. David bumps into an unseen figure. A startled exclamation breaks the silence. Ow! Sorry, sir. David's voice, filled with immediate regret. The apology hangs in the air, unanswered. The focus shifts to the unknown figure, their reaction unseen. The room remains unchanged, but the atmosphere is charged with unspoken tension and uncertainty. In an ambiguous space, Mr. Jones stands firm, a silent lesson hanging heavy in the air. His figure is stark against the undefined backdrop, an unspoken judgment in his eyes. The atmosphere is thick with unspoken words, the weight of the moment palpable. A lesson learned, a point driven home, the consequences linger in the air. Mr. Jones breaks the silence, his voice carrying a hint of finality. That'll learn you. The scene fades, leaving behind the echo of his words and the impact of the lesson. In the stark interview room, Mr. Lee sits, a figure of nervous anticipation, adjusting his tie. His eyes dart around the room, betraying a hint of unease beneath a veneer of composure. He leans forward, ready to defend his actions, a determined glint in his eyes. "I stand by my actions," Mr. Lee declares, his voice firm despite the tremor in his hands. A pause. Then he continues, justifying his controversial method with unnerving conviction. "The slipper. It was a tool, a means of correction," he states, his gaze unwavering. "An undefined room, stark and bare, holds secrets within its simple walls." Mr. Lee speaks, his expression thoughtful, as if pondering the weight of unspoken words. His gaze is distant, reflecting on past choices and the consequences they bore. "It was a deterrent," Mr. Lee admits, his voice echoing in the silent room. A subtle tension hangs in the air as he reveals the motive behind their actions. "We didn't want to get the slipper, so we behaved," he confesses, a hint of regret in his tone. Sunlight floods the modern classroom, highlighting dust motes as students gather for a lively debate. Faces animated with passion. Students from diverse backgrounds engage in spirited discussion. Desks form a semicircle, fostering an atmosphere of collaboration and dynamic exchange. The whiteboard, covered in diagrams, hints at the complex ideas at play in their debate. Energy crackles in the air as each student contributes, their voices rising and falling with conviction. In a sterile interview room, Miss Rodriguez faces an unseen figure, her posture conveying a mix of apprehension and determination. The functional, bare setting emphasizes the gravity of her forthcoming revelations. She leans forward, her gaze intense, ready to unveil a past shrouded in unease. A heavy silence fills the room as she prepares to recount a story of misguided discipline. Her voice drops, a hint of trepidation coloring her tone as she begins her narrative. "I want to tell you about a teacher I had." Her words hang in the air, promising a tale of excessive punishment. In the sterile interrogation room, Miss Rodriguez faces the detectives, the harsh fluorescent lights reflecting off the cold steel table. She fidgets, her eyes darting nervously, a visible struggle hinting at buried trauma. A shadow crosses her face as she recalls a dark memory, her voice barely a whisper. "There was this one teacher," she begins, her voice trembling with suppressed emotion. She pauses, the weight of the memory heavy on her face. "He seemed to enjoy it. It was almost sadistic," she finishes, her words hanging in the tense silence. The 1980 classroom is thick with tension. Mr. Harrison's anger is a palpable force. Mr. Harrison, his face flushed, dominates the front of the room with barely suppressed fury. A sudden sharp crack echoes as he slams the wooden ruler against the desk. The sound reverberates, a stark warning in the otherwise silent classroom. An empty wall looms, scarred with graffiti, the silence amplifying the visual assault. Mr. Harrison appears, his face a rigid mask of displeasure, a storm gathering behind his eyes. He stares at the defaced wall, his jaw tight, each line of graffiti a personal affront. His voice cuts through the silence, demanding answers. "Who drew this graffiti on the wall?" The question hangs in the air, heavy with unspoken accusations and impending repercussions. His eyes narrow, scanning the scene for any sign of the culprit, his anger palpable. An oppressive silence blankets the 1980 classroom, every desk in perfect, fearful alignment. Mr. Harrison, stern and imposing, surveys his domain with chilling calm, cane in hand. Students avoid his gaze, their fear palpable in the heavy air. The cane whistles through the air, a voice narrates, unseen, unheard by those in the room. A sharp, resounding crack echoes, amplifying the dread. Tears stream down the student's face, a mask of despair. Each sob echoes in the unknown location. The student trembles, shoulders shaking with unspoken fear. "I didn't do it," the student cries, voice cracking. Desperation fills the air, heavy and suffocating. The student's plea hangs in the balance, unanswered. A palpable tension hangs heavy in the air, thick with unspoken accusations and impending consequences. Eyes dart nervously, betraying secrets and half-truths in the strained silence of the room. The weight of the lie settles like a shroud, suffocating any hope of escape or redemption. Mr. Harrison's stern gaze pierces through the deception, his voice a cold pronouncement of judgment. "That'll teach you to lie," Mr. Harrison declares, his words echoing with the sting of betrayal and retribution. In the stark interview room, Miss Rodriguez clasps her hands, her weary eyes reflecting a deep, unspoken resilience. Her measured tone fills the silence, each word carefully chosen, painting a vivid picture of enduring trauma. The weight of unspeakable memories is etched onto her face, a testament to the battles she has fought. Witnessing such abuse leaves scars that time struggles to heal, she confesses, her voice heavy with sorrow. "It changes you." Miss Rodriguez sits at the head of the conference table. Her serious expression conveys the weight of her testimony. The panel of investigators listens intently, their faces etched with concern and focus. Miss Rodriguez's voice fills the room, each word carrying the weight of past events. "It created a climate of fear," Miss Rodriguez states, her gaze unwavering. Her words hang in the air, painting a vivid picture of a workplace ruled by intimidation. "We were afraid of him, not respectful," she concludes, the room silent with the impact of her statement. Sunlight floods the classroom, highlighting the intensity of the students' expressions as they delve into serious topics. Faces etched with concern, they discuss the potential for abuse, their focus absolute. The air is thick with unspoken tension, a shared understanding of the gravity of their studies. Textbooks and open notebooks scatter across the desks, evidence of their diligent work. Each student's gaze reflects a deep commitment to safeguarding children. A palpable sense of responsibility fills the modern classroom. In the quiet interview room, Mr. Henderson, Mrs. Davis, Mr. Lee, and Miss Rodriguez are united by the gravity of unspoken memories. Each is lost in thought, their faces reflecting the weight of the past. The silence amplifies the presence of shared, yet private, experiences. Unspoken stories linger, filling the room with a profound, almost palpable tension. A shared understanding binds them as they confront the echoes of yesterday. A single shaft of sunlight pierces the gloom, illuminating dust motes dancing in the stillness of the unknown location. The room is thick, with the scent of aging paper and the faint, lingering aroma of forgotten memories. Shadows cling to every corner, deepening the mystery of the unseen space. An unseen presence seems to watch, as if the room itself holds secrets in its very structure. A voice breaks the silence, heavy with nostalgia and reflection. Mr. Henderson speaks softly, his words hanging in the air. "It was a different time, an unknown room, sterile and bare. The hum of unseen lights fills the silence. The air hangs heavy, untouched by movement or emotion. Mrs. Davis stands alone, a solitary figure in the stark environment. Her expression is unreadable, a mask of quiet resignation. She breaks the silence, her voice soft yet firm. "We didn't question it." The words linger, unanswered questions hanging in the sterile air. In a nondescript room, light illuminates dust motes. The air hangs heavy, thick with unspoken words and secrets. Light filters in, revealing the room's stark emptiness. Mr. Lee's voice breaks the silence, resonating with untold history. It shaped us, Mr. Lee says, his words lingering in the air. In a sterile room, harsh light reveals Miss Rodriguez, her face a canvas of doubt and defiance. She stands firm, confronting an unseen presence, her posture a challenge. The air crackles with unspoken tension, a silent battle of wills unfolding. Her voice cuts through the silence, a question hanging heavy. But was it right? Sunlight streams into the modern classroom, illuminating rows of empty desks. Chloe, framed by the bright window, turns her gaze directly towards the camera. A thoughtful expression crosses her face, a hint of curiosity in her eyes. The silence of the room amplifies the unspoken question in her stare. Chloe's expression suggests she is about to break the silence. Darkness dominates, absolute and consuming, save for a single spotlight cutting through the void. A lone figure stands within the beam, silhouette, stark against the encompassing black. The figure remains motionless, an enigma wrapped in shadow and light. We can learn from the past, Chloe's voice echoes, resonating with a somber weight. Her words linger in the air, a haunting warning. But we must never repeat its mistakes. In the schoolyard, children's laughter fills the bright, open space, echoing with pure joy and freedom. Sunlight bathes the scene in a warm glow, highlighting the children's faces, free from fear. Innocent games unfold under the clear sky, each moment radiant with unburdened happiness. Their eyes sparkle with unshadowed delight, reflecting a future brimming with hope and promise. The atmosphere vibrates with youthful energy, an oasis of carefree play and camaraderie. Each child embodies a beacon of optimism, their laughter a testament to resilience and joy.